Hi everyone, I just wanted to say good afternoon and welcome to ENG 162 for the spring 2017 semester. My name is Mr. Ritzik, and I just wanted to, review some items with you. So, there are two books with this class. This is the handbook. And the reason I got this handbook was just to have a little handbook so that you could carry around with you in your backpack or briefcase or, purse or handbag or whatever so that you could use one. And I like this one. It's not required though, it's just helpful or, recommended. And if you buy or lease or rent or, buy a used copy on Amazon, this is what our book looks like. The 8th edition, Technical Communication, A Practical Approach, and the authors, William Sanborn Peffer and K.E. Adkins. I have used this book now maybe more than 20 years, and I like it. There was another woman that used to teach this class when I first got here named Dr. Judith Metzger, and so she liked this and recommended it to me, and so I've stayed with it ever since. It does have, I believe, 17 chapters, which is more than ample for a 15-week course. And even sometimes I have this class in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 9 weeks in the summertime, and it works out perfectly. Now, if you buy this book from the bookstore, it will be like this, Technical Communication, A Practical Approach, and you would have to buy a little binder or something to keep your book in. And I actually recommend keeping this one, when you're done with this class, because it has lots and lots of good information. And it has like memos, letters, emails, shorter reports and longer reports, written instructions, doing research, whatever types of research you have to do, primary or secondary, where you use sources and so on. So it's really, really well done. There's a couple chapters in this book, especially like chapters 4, which is organizing information, and chapter 5 on document design, which I believe are really, really helpful. Now, from this class, you're not going to necessarily learn brand new techniques, but what you will do is you will combine certain techniques. So you will use formatting more, like with headings, subheadings, bullets, numbered lists. You will use emphasis more with bold and italics and underline, or caps, or red fonts, or yellow highlighting. Not only red fonts, but you can use different colors, whatever you so choose. So you will definitely learn that, from this particular class. And of course, your sentence level writing will become much, much better, and so will your word choice. Some years back, my wife had probably an 87 Honda Accord, and so we were driving it up in Somerset, and here the vehicle overheated and it cracked the engine block, so we had to get it fixed. So we took it to a mechanic who was a mechanic that worked on American vehicles, not on Japanese. And so he bought one of these Chilton repair manuals, and I remember that like it was yesterday. And he fixed our car, but there was a sentence or two that he did not understand in the repair manual, and he never got that thing fixed right. We had to end up trading it in and getting something else. So sometimes, like, just small details, are really, really important. So when you write, sometimes what you have to do in this class is be concisely descriptive. So basically use fewer words and get maximum amount of detail in it. A while ago, I was teaching one of the writing courses, and I wrote this sentence on the board. And the sentence was that doctors who have been in practice for many, many years and have seen all types and kinds of patients tend to recognize those patients who are truly ill and those who are faking it. And one of the students wrote, experienced doctors easily recognize hypochondriacs. It's like, wow, that was a good solution. So, like next week when we do discussion board 1, you are going to have a series of sentences, and your job is to, for each of those clusters for discussion board 1, you're going to try to get it into, instead of 3 or 4 sentences, 1 sentence of 20 words or less. And believe me, that is really, really good practice. And I think, it will benefit you. So anyhow, in the class, we will use, either one of these books. If, like I said, if you buy this one, or if you buy the white covered one used, we are going to use them. And like I said, I encourage you to keep them. When you look at the announcements each week, it lays out the work to do. So what I encourage you to do, and this is important in an online class, is like at the beginning of the week, look at the assignment or assignments. And if you have questions, then of course you can email me and ask me, I don't understand this, can you explain this, and so on. And that is what I would encourage you to do. If you wait until 10 till 12, so I want assignments by midnight on Friday. So if you wait until that time, then, I'll have 100 or more emails. So I just answer the emails in the order in which I receive them. So at that point, it's not as easy to answer specific questions. So it's better, to write them earlier in the week. Okay. So if you get into that habit, and the other thing that you should do with these online courses is develop some sort of schedule. So, there's some readings to do each week, especially from the textbook. Usually there's an assignment that's due each Friday. So like I said, get into some sort of routine so that you're getting the work done by Friday. Really, I encourage you, if you can, get it done by Wednesday or Thursday, because in that way I usually can get the work read and I'll tell you if you're on target or not. And if you're not on target, then you can work on the assignments again. So that's something that I encourage you to do. Now, these online classes are definitely not the same as an in-course class. So like I had my 9:30 Tuesday, Thursday class, and I went over some things with them today, and a couple people had questions. So, that's a different reality compared to online courses. Online courses, though, are valuable for working people, especially working students or students that have young children, or, lots of pets, or elderly parents, or a varied work schedule. And they're good for that reason. But the other reason they're good is it gets you used to working at a distance. So I had a problem with my Dell computer. So I called Dell, and they said, you know what, we have one of our corporate reps coming to Mount Pleasant to deal with an issue that one of our customers has. So we'll have that person come over. So it was a former student. Her name was Carol. And I was like, wow, so it was very lucky. So she came to my home, and she was there about 45 minutes, and she fixed the problem. She fixed a couple other problems that I had. But she said in a scope of 20 or 21 days, she said she might be in the office one day. So otherwise, her territory is Pennsylvania, parts of West Virginia, and parts of Ohio. So her job is more being out. And I had a student who was a wound care specialist who went to nursing homes, patient homes, and so on. And so she had to deal with people like diabetic patients, or somebody that had been involved in an automobile, a bicycle, motorcycle, an industrial accident. So they were recovering. So she would go to see them and to make sure that the wounds were healing properly. If not, then she would take pictures or do a Skype, kind of conversation with one of the physicians, and try to get that resolved. So more and more work is not done just centrally from a central location. More and more work is done out in the field, whatever that may be. So like I said, to me, I think these are advantageous classes, and I believe every college student should take at least one. Now for next week, actually this week, which is the 20th, assignment 1, assignment 2 on email, and then your information sheet, those are due. But you can have until the 23rd, which is Monday, by midnight to submit those, so you don't necessarily have to get them in by this Friday. Assignment 1 is to ask 2 or 3 friends or family members what they think of you as a person, okay? And something that I would tell you is, like, if you're doing your parents, your mother and your father probably would have slightly different opinions. So I would do one interview, like, say, with your mother, then one with your father, and you might want to do, someone else. It's a good idea, though, if you can at all. I mean, if this works out, maybe to do like a family member, maybe to do a coworker, and then somebody else that knows you in a different capacity, a boyfriend or girlfriend, or someone who has been a lifelong friend, or someone like that. So you kind of get a little bit more rounded perspectives. The objective of this assignment is for you to practice summarization, to use direct quotes, and then also to comment on what was said to state if you agree or disagree. So your introduction would be introducing the people you interviewed, so who each person is, how long you have known each person, in what capacity, and then like overall what they had to say about you. So I would prefer if you would do that, because just, you can say, my mother. I would prefer if you give the person's name, but it's helpful if you give some background. I had a student in this class before, and he wanted to go on and be an orthopedic surgeon, so someone that did bones, like broken bones or hip replacement, rotator cuff, and so on. But his grandfather did that job. His father was an orthopedic surgeon, and that's what he wanted to be. And his mother was an RN. His sister was like a physical therapist, and everyone in the family had some medical affiliation. So that was kind of neat to learn. So introduce the people that you spoke to, and you get into the body. Use one paragraph for each person that you spoke to. So, like what they said. Now, if you can use specific examples, that is really, really helpful. So there was a student in this class, and her mother said that her daughter, who was in this class, was really willing to help others. So her daughter, walked on this Relay for Life, which is raising money for cancer. So she did that all day on Saturday. On Sunday, she was involved with the youth ministry, like a vacation Bible camp or something at her church. And she was involved with a third activity. So on her Saturday and Sunday, she wasn't just sleeping in or whatnot. She was really helping people out in her community. There was another guy in this class, and his friend used this example. They were in Walmart in Latrobe, and there was this family ahead of them, and they were like the mother, the father, and 3 children. And the family didn't have enough money to pay for the food that they were buying, and so the student just used his debit card and paid for it. So I thought that was a pretty good example of someone who was willing to help. So you have the paragraph on what they said, try to use some quotes or examples, and then in the next paragraph say, I agree with this, I disagree with that, and so on. Somebody last semester, their mother said that they were lazy, and they said that they were not lazy, they had to think things through, but then, she just agreed with that point. So either use 2 or 3 interviews, and then the conclusion to state, if you agreed, not if you agreed or disagreed, well, doing that, to compare and contrast the interviews, so if they were similar or if they were somewhat different. Assignment 2 is writing effective email. There's like about 5 links. Just read through those. And then there's some points of criteria like format, emphasis, and a couple other points that you need to cover on writing effective email. You can write that to me as an email, dear Mr. Ritzik, in this document, in reading these, this is what they had to say about format, this is what they had to say about content, this is what they had to say about emphasis. You can send it as an email or you can send it as a Word document, but I just want you to become more effective in writing email, which I believe is helpful. And then the last one is the information sheet. So you can send that to me, when you get done with it. My preference is that you put them all into, one in one email, so I can get them all at once, not 3 separate emails. So if you want to put all 3 attachments in one, that's okay. But if you need to send them separately, that's okay. I'm going to go through some recommendations that I have for you, and so if you have not done a resume, I would encourage you to work on a resume earlier in the semester. You can contact Sherry Knoll, who is NOELC at wccc.edu, or simply stop in Career Services and they'll give you an appointment to work on your resume. We're going to do that later in the semester, but it's better to do it earlier. We're going to do a consumer report in this class where you're looking at 3 brands of a product and you are choosing one. If you're going to need to buy something in the next year, a new vehicle, a bicycle, a dishwasher, a new pair of boots, especially if you're into hiking or some other outdoor activity or hunting or whatever, fishing pole. I had a woman last semester that bought a high-end purse, and it was like a Coach or Fendi, I believe. And but she looked at a couple of these high-end purses and chose one. So start to think about that a little bit. Later in the semester, we're also going to be doing written instructions. So you're going to be taking visuals, pictures, or, using some good ones from a website. But if you're going to be doing something, this semester, something that you really enjoy doing and you'd like to explain to someone, that would be helpful, like making a meal, baking a cake. But even I had somebody last semester and she was a dog groomer. And so she showed how to, groom a large dog, how to really clean thoroughly, especially around the eyes and around the rear end area, because I did not know this, but there's like these sacs in the back of a dog and you have to push on them to secrete there's like some kind of fluid or liquid, I believe. And so it helps the dog to be able to go to number 2 better. So she explained how to do that. And even as far as like trimming the nails and whatnot, it's kind of more involved than I actually thought. So, but something you like to do, I mean, it's something that you're pretty good at doing. We're going to do that later in the semester. So I just wanted to kind of suggest that. The other major assignment we're going to have to do for this class is find an article related to your field or your profession and then summarize it in 3 ways. And so one of the better ones actually that I saw last semester was on 3D mammography. So my wife Vicki was a radiology technologist, and the way that they did the mammograms then compared to now is a little bit different. So they can look at the breast tissue in different ways and kind of get a better view to see if there is any abnormalities, something that may be particularly cancerous or something. But I've had people that do many, many different types of topics. I had a student that was into nuclear engineering, and he did one on like these nuclear power plants that are much, much smaller that they can use in third world countries. I had a student that was into welding, and he did underwater welding, which I had not known, anything about. So it's kind of pretty varied as far as like what you could get into for this. But you just, like later in the semester, you'll have to find something related to your field or profession. Using EBSCOhost or our library site is probably one of the best ways to, to go. I also wanted to tell you is if you're going to transfer, I would see a transfer counselor this semester. If you want to do an internship, send me an email and I'll give you more information. But it's usually between 120 to 180 credits, and you can do that over the summertime if you so care to. I had a student that was an intern for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the public relations department, which she found pretty amazing, and she actually got a job with them. Had a student that was forensic science, and she interned with the Indiana County Coroner's Office, and she found that to be helpful, so she did that for a whole summer. And I don't know if she got hired by them, but it's great experience. Some internships pay, some do not, but it's a a consideration. And lastly is we have tutoring here on site at the college. But also, too, we have an online tutoring type of service. And if you need help with that, I can get you connected to that, if maybe with writing or math or whatnot. And if you're good at a particular area, if you're good at math, if you're good at science, if you're good at computers, you can also be one of our tutors here at the College Learning Center. And if you so care to, you could be one of our work studies here at the college. You'd have to apply through financial aid. But as always, I'm right at 20 minutes, so I'll conclude. If you ever need any help or assistance, email me or call me. Also, my cell phone number is in the syllabus, so I'm available to help you. Thanks.